Chapter 4. D. The feeling of her standing close enough for me to inhale her haunts me. When she tripped, my heart skipped a beat, and I reached out to steady her, not realizing how deeply that insignificant point in time would etch into my mind. For a moment, I looked down at her and could barely breathe. In my imagination, she inhaled me back and melted a bit at my scent. But I was soon brought out of that dream. I shake my head. Nightmare, not dream. Maybe I need to get laid. Because something is happening to me, and it's unsettling. What's wrong? Mia grabs my arm and moves in closer. She smells of expensive perfume. It tickles my nose. Nothing, I say and step away from her. I hurry to Julian, breaking the contact with his sister. He gives me an apologetic smile. He knows Mia has been after me since the first time she saw me. I had hoped her crush would die down as we grew up, but somehow it's just morphed into her being certain we'll get married one day. Not that marrying her would be the worst thing in the world. Our parents would be thrilled with the match. I shudder at the thought. No, it would be bad. I've never seen her as anything but an annoying younger sister of my friend. Julian knows all of this, and he has tried to talk to her time and time again. But the idea has rooted itself so deeply with her that she refuses to give it up. I keep hoping she'll meet someone and fall in love. Once or twice I thought she had, and I was free. But then they broke up, and we were right back where it started. So is Cameron coming? Mia asks the fourth member of our little group as we walk down the street to the coffee shop someone thought it would be appropriate to name Dirty. No, Elsa sighs. He needs to fine-tune his robot for the competition. Elsa is Julian's other sister. She's a year older than him, whereas Mia is a year younger. Elsa liked to tease her siblings that she was the only one planned. The other two just happened along before their parents were ready. It was still a point of gossip, how Julian's mother had screamed and thrown things at his father when she found out she was pregnant and already had 2 kids under the age of 3. That day lived in infamy at the club where it all had taken place. His mother, a calm, timid woman, had threatened to cut off his dick if he didn't get a vasectomy at once. A week later, it was done. Elsa and Mia go to River University, which means they're uni's rivals in most sports and plenty of non-sport activities. Elsa followed her boyfriend, now fiancé, there, and Mia couldn't imagine spending her university years away from her sister. Cameron, Elsa's fiancé, is an engineer with what everyone claims is a bright future. We arrive at Dirty, and Julian hurries inside. I can tell the second he spots Jenna. His back straightens and he comes alive. Jenna's sitting in a booth with someone. I don't need her to turn around to recognize her. The coffee shop is mostly empty, so I step towards a table far away from Jenna and Ellie. But Julian is already making his way to their booth. I sigh and stay back a bit. Maybe he's only saying hello. Instead of joining them, I go to the counter and order a coffee, hoping to avoid any encounter with the dark-haired woman. But to my dismay, Jenna moves further into the booth so Julian can sit next to her. Mia and Elsa greet the 2 women and gesture to the counter. I drag my feet as I pass several empty tables. Ellie has moved to give room to the sisters, and unless I want to awkwardly push myself next to Julian, I have no choice but to sit next to her. Jenna, I say as I slide into the booth. It's nice seeing you again. I try not to notice how Ellie flinches at my presence. She's eating a bowl of what looks like yogurt and fruit. I finally turn towards her. Ellie. She makes a grunting sound and goes back to her bowl. Jenna was just telling me she's majoring in photography, Julian says. That's interesting, I say, not sure what I'm supposed to do with that information. Jenna says something softly to Julian, and I'm left with no other choice but to talk to the woman smelling delicious next to me. Is that your major as well? She swallows a bit of fruit and shakes her head. No. My major is finance. Finance? I stare at her. She raises an eyebrow. Yes. What? Did you think I was here for shits and giggles? I slowly shake my head. No, I just didn't peg you as a finance major. She shrugs and turns back to her yogurt. Ah, that's adorable, Elsa says and grins at Julian when she and Mia return. She sits next to Julian, and I move closer to Ellie as Mia sits next to me. Jenna blushes, and Julian looks embarrassed. Julian clears his throat. I mentioned they're my sisters, right? He says to Jenna, and I'm not sure if he says it to assure her they will be embarrassing, or to make sure she knows he's not hanging out with any other women. Mia leans closer as she places a mug in front of Julian, and I instinctively move away. My breathing pauses when my leg touches Ellie's. Yes, Jenna says. Do you have siblings? Mia asks. I want to move my leg away from Ellie's, but it seems impossible. I glance over at her. She stopped eating. Jenna shakes her head. No, I'm an only child. I can't even imagine, Mia says. I would be so lonely without these two. She gestures to her brother and sister. Do you have siblings? I ask Ellie and look over. She's squirming a bit, and it suddenly hits me that she's pressed up against the wall, looking uncomfortable. Cursing myself, I move away from her. A faint relief washes over her as our legs no longer touch. I have a twin sister, she says. So you know. Elsa nods. There's something special about the bond that forms when you grow up with someone, especially when they're so close in age. Ellie smiles. I know exactly what you mean. Mia pats my arm. Dee's an only child. I'm starting to think that means he has trouble opening up. I open up just fine, I say. I'm not so sure about that, Mia says. He was opening up just fine when I met him. Ellie is stirring her yogurt. At the library. I frown at her. Oh, he gets around, Mia says, as if she's discussing the weather. But he doesn't do long term. I suppose he's young enough that it doesn't matter yet. And it's not like there are a lot of eligible women around here. Her comment causes a slight chill around the table. I'm not sure if Mia realizes how hurtful her words can be. Ellie pulls out her phone. That's not true. I take a sip of my coffee and almost burn my tongue. What isn't? Mia asks. Excuse me, Ellie makes a gesture to her phone. I need to make a call before my sister burns down the apartment. I move out of the booth and inhale as she passes me by. There's something intoxicating about her scent, and I can't put my finger on it. She moves away from the table, and I reluctantly sit back down. Mia sits too close to me again. Well? Mia asks. Well, what? Which part of what I said isn't true? It takes me a while to remember what we were talking about. There are plenty of eligible women around here. Oh, really? I know she's teasing me. She wants me to compliment her. But I think there is a small amount of jealousy in her tone. Are there women here at UNI that have that special something to catch your eye? There are 4 beautiful women right here, Julian says and smiles at Jenna. Jenna blushes and her eyes dart to Ellie, who is looking irritated on the phone. Is that your opinion as well, Dee? Mia's hand is on my arm, and I want to pull away from her. I don't voice opinions on my friend's sisters or his girlfriend. I try to act nonchalant, but I notice both Jenna and Julian react to my choice of words. Julian freezes in place as if he's certain any movement will scare her off. Jenna glances at Julian quickly, and stares at the table as her cheeks go red. There's a small smile on her lips. Mia cackles. She laughs in a way that grates at my brain, and I take a sip of coffee to hide my annoyance. That only leaves one woman here for you to comment on. She waits for a while, but when I don't answer, she goes on. Do you think, what's her name, Ellie, has that certain something that makes her attractive? I take another sip of coffee. Sure. Really? And so tell me, what is it that makes Ellie hot? I think about it for a while. Mia can be stubborn like a cold when she gets something into her head. I know she won't drop this until I've given her an answer. She has beautiful eyes. I try to act nonchalant and sip at my coffee again. As I do, there's a shadow at the table. Ellie is standing there, glaring at me. I quickly look away, only to be met by Julian's raised eyebrow. Mia laughs again, and I want to shrink away from the sound. If I had to pick something, I add, and dare another quick glance at the woman in question. Her eyes are beautiful. They're also trying to set me on fire. My comment only made her madder. And I feel something stirring in my pants as she glares at me. I put on the calm expression I use when my father is scolding me. My father thinks emotions are for women, and I quickly learn to hide them around him. I want to breathe a sigh of relief when Ellie looks away. I have to get to work, she tells Jenna. She looks at Elsa and Mia. It was nice meeting you. You too, Mia-cuz. I'm sure we'll see plenty of each other in the future. Yeah, Elsa says and glances at her phone. It was nice meeting you. Jenna, are you staying? Jenna shakes her head. No, I have to edit a few images. Elsa lets her out, and she gives Julian a shy smile. When the women have left, I wonder if Ellie really had work, or if it was an excuse to get away from us. From me. I never should have said anything about her appearance. I'm sure she took it the wrong way. I like her, Elsa says to Julian. She seems really nice. Does she have any family? Perhaps hanging out with Ellie is a bad idea. She clearly doesn't want my company, and she does something to me I can't explain. Her mom died when she was young, and her dad is remarried. They don't live near here. Mia squints. Is she here on a scholarship? Julian shakes his head. I don't think so. Good, Elsa says. I'd hate to think she was after your money. I watch my friend across the table. Julian is nice. Sometimes naive. I'd hate to think anyone was using him. Perhaps I need to hang out with them, to keep an eye on him. For his sake. And if Ellie happens to be there, well, there's nothing I can do about that.